Talk to me about the wrong book. Okay. No. Alhamdulillahi wahdahu wassalatu wassalam ala man la nabiyya ba'dahu wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man tamassaka bi sunnatihi ila yawm ad-din wa sallama tasliman kathira amma ba'd. We continue in the explanation Buloogh al-Maraam, the chapter of Siyam, by the illustrious scholar Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah, who died 851 after the hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wassalam. We will explain the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu ardah, the hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ mentions, مَنْ لَمْ يَدَعْ قَوْلَ الزُّورِ وَالْعَمَلَ بِهِ وَالْجَهَلِ فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ فِي أَنْ يَضَعْ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ. Whoever does leave off statements of evil and also actions of it, and also jahl. We said that the meaning of jahl here doesn't mean adam al-ilm, doesn't mean lack of knowledge. Meaning here is adam al-hilm, the one being unforbearing, whereas he retaliates or he acts in a very evil, offensive manner while he's fasting. So the meaning of jahl here is not ignorance. The meaning of jahl here is acting in a very evil, and if you want to say reprehensible, or a very evil or obscene manner. So we said in regards to this hadith, that we said that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned and said that in regards to the person who does this, that it's while a person is fasting, that it's incumbent upon a person to observe being very tranquil and serene while he's fasting, and not to indulge in retaliation. If one was to try to offend him, not to retaliate in a similar fashion, in which is the same level of ignorance in which the person brought to you. Rather, it's incumbent upon one to have his back like water and it falls off, and not to be impulsive and quick to retaliate if one was to deal with you in a very vile or insulting manner. We said that the first category in which the great Imam Salih Fawzan bin Abdullah Fawzan Hafidhullah Ra'ah wa Talallahu fi umrihi bil a'mal as-salihah, that he said in regards to this, that the first category of that, he said mufattirat ma'nawiyyah, that which breaks the fast, which is intangible. We said intangible meaning, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, that it's there, but you cannot attain it by the five senses, but it's there, such as ghiba, namima. And when we said mufattirat, that it breaks the fast, we was talking about how these type of matters, that it diminishes its reward to the point as if the person didn't fast at all. Not necessarily nullifying it, like we said yesterday, that if a person was to fall into it, that he can, for example, now not continue his fast. Oh, I fell in the backbiting, so now I'm going to eat and drink because I broke my fast. La, that's not the meaning of it. We said that the meaning of mufattirat ma'nawiyyah, if one was to fall into something evil while he's fasting, or something that opposes the shara', that is incumbent upon the one to continue his fast, and until he fulfills the obligation. But he has to be careful that he falls into matters in which it would diminish its reward to the point as if he did not fast at all. So it's incumbent upon a person to observe, guarding his fast or what he looks at, and likewise what he lends his ear to, and likewise what he says, and also how he conducts himself. So we said that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned and said, he says, for example, the al-amala bihi, man lam yada' qawl az-zur wal-amala bihi wal-jahl. Whoever does not leave off statements of evil and also actions of it, of that evil. There's a great Imam, he goes on to say, wal-amala bihi, he says, al-amalu bil-muharram. لأن المحرم قد يكون بالقول وقد يكون بالفعل كالضرب والقتل والتعدي على الناس بالفعل هذا من الزور لأنه بغير حق. He says the meaning when the Prophet ﷺ said the word al-amal bihi, meaning actions of evil. He says the meaning of it, he says, al-amalu bil-muharram, that a person does an act which is unlawful. And we said last Friday that Ibn Rajab al-Hanbali, that he mentioned in his book called Ta'if al-Ma'arif, that he said that a person that just observes fasting by abstaining from food and drink alone, however, he still commits acts of evil, that which is unlawful, while he's fasting. And he does this in the month of Ramadan or while he's fasting generally, but especially in the month of Ramadan. He's just observing or he's abstaining from food and drink, but he is not abstaining from all those other acts that are unlawful. But we know that the asl of eating and drinking is permissible. He said they're just acts that temporarily become unlawful upon the one to test him, to see if he's going to fear Allah Ta'ala in that particular time. He said if these things are in its origin are mubah, or they're natural, and also likewise they're halal, he says what about the acts which are unlawful while for a person is fasting? It's even coming upon him to really stay away from what? Those acts. He says also likewise a person just abstains from food and drink and he's still committing unlawful acts while he's fasting. He says the example of the person that draws close to Allah by nawafil, by those voluntary acts, by not leaving off the one, he draws close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala by performing voluntary acts, and he left off the obligatory ones. He said this is the example of the person that what? Does this. He fasts, abstains from food and drink, but he doesn't want to abstain from those what? Those unlawful acts. It's as if you draw close to Allah by something voluntary, by leaving off that which is what? Obligatory. For example, zina, so coming upon you to leave it off all around the years, not just Ramadan, all around the year. But however, food and drink is only what? It's only temporary. It's only for a temporary time. But as far as, for example, indulging in khamr or drinking intoxicants or riba and namima, all these things are impermissible all throughout the year without an exception. So we said, Ya ma'ashal ikhwa, he says, so a person while he's fasting, he said it's incumbent upon one to abstain from statements of evil and also actions of evil. For example, hitting, killing, attacking people, transgressing against them by action. He said all this is from zur, all this is from evil. He says because it's not done justifiably, of course. He says as far as the statement of the Prophet ﷺ, wal jahl, and he said the meaning of jahl here is a safa, meaning not to be forbearing. He says فَلَا يَسْفَهُ الصَّائِمْ بَلْ يَكُونُ حَلِيمًا وَقُورًا فَالْجَهْلُ الْمُرَادُ بِهِ هُنَا السَّفَهُ وَعَدَمُ الْحِلْمِ. Notice he said exactly what I said, وَعَدَمُ الْحِلْمِ. كما قال الله تبارك وتعالى إنما التوبة على الذين إنما التوبة على الله للذين يعملون السوء بجهالة. Verily tawbah, Allah تبارك وتعالى accepted from those who do evil بجهالة. Bijahala, meaning that the meaning of jahl here is not the lack of knowledge. The meaning of ignorance here is not lack of knowledge. The meaning of jahl here is not being forbearing. He said, فَإِنَّ الَّذِي لَا يَعْلَمُ لَا يُؤَاخَذْ وَلَكَنْ الْمُرَادُ بِالْجَهْلِ هُنَا السَّفَهُ. He said the ayah which is in Surah An-Nisa, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, verily tawbah is upon the one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted from the one who does evil out of jahala. So the meaning of jahala here is that you had knowledge of what you were what? You had knowledge of what you were doing. But however, in this particular moment, you were being unforbearing. Rather, you had knowledge of it, and you still did something what? Evil. So Allah Ta'ala accepted, of course, if He does or fulfills the proper conditions for it. He says this is just an explanation to show that jahl can also mean what? Not being forbearing. That it can be upon knowledge, but you're not doing it not doing it in a manner where you're ignorant, you have knowledge of it, but however you're not being forbearing. He said this is another meaning of what? Of jahl in the Arabic language. He said because a person doesn't know, in most cases he's not what? Held accountable if he doesn't know. He said so the intention behind jahl here is what they call safa, foolishness. He says for safa yunafi siyam. He says of course safa, or acting in a foolish manner, it contradicts fasting. And it does not befit the one fasting. He says he does not indulge in being foolish with those who are foolish. لا يليق بالصائم يسفها مع السفهاء. It's not befitting that the one acts foolish with those who are foolish. He says rather he abstains or he stays away from that. He says, so the meaning of while a person is fasting, there's also athar on Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu, where he mentioned and said, in regards to the person is fasting, he says, فَإِذَا كُنْتُ صَائِمْ, he says, فَلْيَصُمْ سَمْعُكْ وَبَصَرُكْ سَمْعُكْ وَبَصَرُكْ عَنِ الْمَحَارِمِ وَدَعْ أَذَى الْخَادِمِ وَلْيَكُونُوا عَلَيْكَ السَّكِينَةُ وَالْوَقَارُ يَوْمَ صِيَامِكَ وَلَا تَجْعَلْ يَوْمَ صِيَامِكَ وَفِطْرِكَ سَوَاء. This is the author of Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu, where he mentioned and said, he says, if one of you are fasting, فَلْيَصُمْ سَمْعُكْ وَبَصَرُكْ وَلِسَانُكَ عَنِ الْمَحَارِمِ. فَلْيَصُمْ سَمْعُكْ وَبَصَرُكْ عَنِ الْمَحَارِمِ وَدَعْ أَذَى الْخَادِمِ وليكن في يوم صيامك الوقار والسكينة يوم صيامك ولا تجعل فطرا أو يوم صيامك وفطرك سواء. He says, if one of you are fasting, then let his ears fast, and let his eyes fast, and let his tongue fast. Let his eyes fast, and let his ears fast, and let his tongue fast from that which is unlawful. He said, فَلْيَصُمْ سَمْعُكْ وَبَصَرُكْ وَلِسَانُكْ عَنِ الْمَحَارِمِ. He says, and leave off those, دَعْ أَذَى الْخَادِمِ. And then another narration says, وَدَعْ أَذَى الْجَارِ. There's one narration of Jabir ibn Abdullah that he said, leave off harming the one who is what? Aiding you or helping you, or those who are in your company. Leave off harming them. There's another narration of Jabir ibn Abdullah where it says, وَدَعْ أَذَى الْجَارِ. Leave off harming your neighbor. He says, let it be on the day while you're fasting, tranquility and being peace and at ease and that serenity. Let them have those characteristics. He says, and do not make the days while you're fasting and the day when you're breaking it, do not make it equal. So you notice that Jabir ibn Abdullah radiallahu anhu, that he mentioned the statement where he says that one should observe letting his ears fast, his sight fast, and his tongue fast from that which is unlawful, and leave off harming the people. And we know the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu, where the Prophet also mentioned and said, he says, As-sawmu junnah, فَإِذَا كَانَ يَوْمُ الصِّيَامِ أَوْ صَوْمِ أَحَدِكُمْ فَلَا يَرْفُثْ وَلَا يَصْخَبْ وَإِنْ سَابَّهُ أَحَدٌ أَوْ قَاتَلَهُ فَلْيَقُلْ إِنِّي صَائِمٌ, to the end of the narrations. We know. But the Prophet said that fasting is a shield, that it protects you. And if it's the siyam of one of you on his day, he says, فَلَا يَرْفُثْ فَلَا يَرْفَثْ وَلَا يَصْخَبْ. So do not act in a very offensive manner, obscene manner, and do not la yaskhab. Do not holler and scream and raise your voice. Meaning be tranquil, be at ease, be serene, be relaxed. فَلَا يَرْفُثْ وَلَا يَصْخَبْ. Of course, he's not intimate. That's comprehensive for all those meanings. Do not be intimate with your spouse. But also it means, as you'll find another statement of Ahl Ilm where they mention and say that the meaning of la yaskhab, the meaning of sakhab here, he says al-ijtinab al-fuhsh bil-fi'l wal-qawl. To stay away, abstain, he says, from being obscene in your statements and your actions, both together. Al-ijtinab al-fuhsh bil-qawl wal-fi'l. Because we know that it will fall into what? Diminishing your reward to the point where as if you did not fast in the first place. So that's the meaning of, like we said, jahl, in which you'll find that the Prophet ﷺ mentioned here in the hadith of Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu Allah. The last part of the hadith where it says, وَقَوْلُهُ لَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ قِيلَ لَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ فِي أَن يَضَعَ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ. That Allah Ta'ala is not in need of him leaving off his food and his drink. Meaning the people who indulge in these acts, it says in the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah is not in need that a person leave off his food and his drink. What is the meaning of the statement, لَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ? The great Imam, as he goes on to say, حفظ الله ورعاه, it says, معناه ليس لله إرادة في صيامه أي أن هذا الصيام لا يريده الله لأن الله إنما يريد الصيام الصحيح الخالي عما يخل به فهذا الصيام لا يريده الله. So what's the statement in regards that Allah is not in need? Allah is not in need. Whose parent is that? That's your son? I just wanted to know. What is the meaning of the statement when the Prophet ﷺ said that Allah is not in need of one leaving off his food and drink? From a fa'ida aqadiyya, from the aspect of that which regards to one's belief, Shaykh Salih Fawzan goes on to say that the meaning of it here, he says, لَيْسَ لِلَّهِ إِرَادَةٌ فِي صِيَامِهِ أَنَّ هَذَا الصِّيَامِ لَا يُرِيدُهُ اللَّهِ. The meaning that Allah is not in need, the meaning of it here in this context, he said that Allah, this is a siyam that Allah does not want. This is a type of fasting that Allah does not want. Meaning, Allah Ta'ala does not want this type of fasting. He says rather He wants the correct siyam that is empty and free of what? That which infringes upon it. That which infringes upon it. What infringes upon a siyam? Evil statements, evil actions, evil speech, acting in a very evil manner, obscene manner, to the end of it. Right, everyone? He says, La hajata lillahi fi, that Allah have no need in it, meaning that Allah does not want it, and Allah is not pleased with it. He says, وَإِلَّا فَاللَّهُ جَلَّ وَعَلَى لَيْسَ بِحَاجَ إِلَىٰ عِبَادِهِ وَلَا إِلَىٰ أَعْمَادِهِمْ اللَّهُ غَنِيٌّ عَنْ عِبَادِهِ لكن المراد هنا ليس لله حاجة ليس لله حاجة يعني أن هذا لا يرضاه الله ولا يريده من عباده لأنه صيام غير صحيح فليس لله حاجة في أن يضع طعامه وشرابه فدل على أن الصيام ليس بترك الطعام ولا الشراب بل يترك المحرمات أيضا فإن ترك الطعام والشراب ترك للمباح طاعة لله عز وجل أما ترك القول الزور والعمل به والجهل فهذا ترك لمحرم وهذا واجب على المسلم دائما وأبدا to the end of it. So the end of it, what he says here, Hafidullah, he says, so the meaning of it here when he says that Allah is not in need, meaning that Allah is not pleased with the siyam, nor does He want it from His slaves. The siyam is not what? It's not correct. So Allah Ta'ala is not in need of one leaving off his food and drink. Is an indication, of course, that fasting is not just from leaving off what? Of leaving off food and drink. He says rather leaving off those forbidden, those unlawful acts also. For verily leaving off food and drink, he says is leaving off something that's natural, out of obedience for Allah, something that's done temporarily, for a temporary appointed time. He says, however, leaving off statements of evil and actions of it, and also not being forbearing, this is leaving off something that's unlawful. And this is obligatory upon a Muslim always and forever, all throughout the year. Leaving off what's unlawful is a duty and obligation and a priority upon a Muslim in his fasting or when he's not fasting. He says, for siyam tarkuhu wal-ibti'adi anhu awjab wa akad. So leaving off these forbidden and evil acts and abstaining from it, he says it is verily that is what is emphasized and that which is an obligation. We'll stop here. هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. Any questions about the lesson? تفضل. Say it again. There's no backbiting for I know there's no backbiting for a disbeliever. However, if you see in the instance that it's going to cause some type of blemish on Islam and the da'wah, stay away from it. Because a lot of Muslims in their actions, they give a bad da'wah to non-Muslims. How they talk, and they'll say, they'll just be going off on a non-Muslim, going in, using any speech, and then a non-Muslim looking at you like, damn, that's what your religion calls too, acting like that. So observe who's around you at the time, what is going on around you. It's best to abstain, stay away from it in all times. If you're amongst your wife or somebody or brother you conversing with, that's something different. This how I can, this non-Muslim guy do my job. Oh my goodness, this guy's getting on my nerves. You understand? You just by yourself alone. It's something different. But as far as non-Muslims that's around you, they're looking at your actions, they're looking at your speech, they're looking at how you conduct yourself. If you conduct yourself in that manner, you make and give bad da'wah to the non-Muslims. And it'll be a reason for them not accepting Islam, and it'll be a reason for them to say, that's the reason why I don't want to be Muslim, because of that, how he acts, or how he and she acts. They wild, buck wild. Look at them holy clothes they wear, and they still act crazy. Wearing a bunch of holy clothes, and they and then you look at their behavior, it's totally in contrast to what they're wearing. It's the truth. How we act is supposed to agree with our clothes, and our clothes are supposed to agree with also our actions. I mean, what we say and how we conduct. Both. It's supposed to agree with each other. And that goes for our sisters, too. Sisters wear overhead abayas, and then she gets into a gathering, and they hear her mouth. They be like, whoa. That mouth you going totally contradicts to how you dressing. And how you acting. You understand what I'm saying, everyone? So like I said, if you're in an environment where you see non-Muslims, abstain from it, especially if it's going to give bad da'wah to the non-Muslims, where they're going to get the impression that that type of behavior is acceptable. All right? Any other questions about the lesson? Any other questions about the lesson? Hold Just make this the last one because I got to run. You mean after? Oh. Any questions about the lesson? طيب هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك